A.J. Foyt, Indy, 1967.
And there's an accident on the front straightaway. There's 2, 3, 4 cars. Where's Foyt? I don't know whether he can get through or not. Hitting the wall. Bouncing back across the straightaway. Foyt's only got a couple hundred yards to go. But there he is. He's going to get through. A.J. Foyt will win the Indianapolis 500.
Emerson Fittipaldi, youngest man ever to win the coveted title of World Champion Racing Driver. You see him here in his exotic Lotus whipping through the streets of Monte Carlo during the Monaco Grand Prix. Richard Petty humming down the back straight at the Daytona International Motor Speedway on the final lap of the 1973 Daytona 500. 4 times he's won the race. 4 times Richard Petty has won the NASCAR Grand National Stock Car Championship. First man ever to win $1 million in stock car racing. Mark Donohue, here winning Indy 500, 1972. Called by many the most versatile racing driver in the game today. Today you'll see these 4 champion racing drivers plus 8 other champions competing in the most unique automobile racing series ever. 12 champions driving identical automobiles. This hot Porsche Carrera. Every effort made to ensure that each driver will have comparable racing machines made especially for the World Series of Automobile Racing. The International Race of Champions. Premiering today on ABC's Wide World of Sports. More than 65,000 people have gathered in the hot Southern California desert country for the World Series of Automobile Racing, the International Race of Champions. Hello, I'm Keith Jackson. How many times have you wondered what would happen if you took the 12 finest race drivers in the world and put them in the same kind of an automobile and put them on a racetrack together? Who do you think would win? Well, it's finally been done in an International Race of Champions. Not 1 race, but 4. There will be 3 elimination races here at the Riverside International Raceway in Southern California, and the 4th race to determine the most versatile champion of them all will be run at Daytona, Florida. All on-road courses, and to sweeten it, $175,000 in total prize money. Now, actually, a man, if he wins all 3 of these races, could go home with a bundle. First place is worth $6,000 in each of the elimination races. The winner in the finale will get $41,000 plus a $5,000 bonus for winning them all. So theoretically, a man could go home with $64,000. That's a lot of it. And of course, there is a ton of prestige involved because these are the 12 finest racing drivers in the world, and they come from the 4 major categories of automobile racing. Now, in order of qualification, these are the men you'll see running in the International Race of Champions. From Formula One, Emerson Fittipaldi, Sao Paulo, Brazil, World Champion Racing Driver 1972. From SCCA Road Racing, Mark Donohue, Newtown Square, Pennsylvania, Indy 500 winner in 1972. From SCCA Road Racing, Peter Revson, Redondo Beach, California, Champaign Peter, 1971 Can-Am champion. Representing SCCA Road Racing, George Follmer, Arcadia, California, 1972 Can-Am and Trans Am champion. From NASCAR, David Pearson, Spartanburg, South Carolina, 3-time NASCAR Grand National champion. From Formula One, Denny, Surrey, England, more Can-Am victories for this man than any other, the Bear. From USAC, one of the swiftest, Bobby Unser, Albuquerque, New Mexico, USAC driving champion 1968. From USAC, A.J. Foyt of Houston, Texas, 3-time winner of the Indy 500, 5-time USAC national driving champion, $2.5 million in winning from racing. From NASCAR, Bobby Allison, Hueytown, Alabama, the Martini Rossi Driver of the Year in 1972. Also from NASCAR, Richard Petty, Randleman, North Carolina, the first man ever to win $1 million in racing stock cars, 154 Grand National victories. From USAC, Gordon Johncock, Franklin, Indiana, 1973 Indianapolis 500 winner. And from USAC, Roger McCluskey of Tucson, Arizona, the 1973 USAC driving champion. So those are the 12 men that will be running in the International Race of Champions. And most certainly a man who was invited to participate, but who will not because he has retired. The man who has won more Formula One Grand Prix titles than any other, 27 of them, one of racing's most remarkable performers, and our good friend Jackie Stewart, who is sharing commentary with us. Jackie?
Well, thank you very much, Keith. It's certainly a privilege to come and see this race and to work with everyone on it, because it is, in fact, really a historic occasion, because I don't believe ever in the history of motor racing have 12 such good drivers, some of the best drivers in the world, being put into a series of races where they are going to compete in totally level terms. Now, this is unique, because the motor cars are identical. They're Porsche Carreras. Now, this is something that is very difficult to do, to bring a field of cars to be actually the same. The similarity, everyone's happy about. All the drivers. I've never had one complaint from a driver saying that perhaps one car has an advantage over the other. And this is difficult. German efficiency, if you like, has allowed those cars to be so alike. Really a remarkable thing. The racetrack, well, that's another good thing, because Riverside's been well chosen. All of the drivers, with the exception of Emerson Fittipaldi, has driven Riverside a lot. They know the racetrack. It's got a lot of character about it. It's got a few turns in it that allows every driver to have at least the feeling of being at home. Turn 9, apart from being in the wrong direction, allows the USAC and the NASCAR drivers to at least have an oval-type corner in the racetrack.
The racetrack snakes around through the desert country, 2.54 miles. And as Jackie noted, almost every kind of turn known to the racing driver. It is a relatively flat race course, but there's imagination in it, and it requires imagination from the drivers. And we've just been told there's a controversy before we start the first race. Emerson Fittipaldi, the pole sitter, and George Follmer have been moved to the back of the starting grid because they were late for the drivers' meeting. Jackie Stewart is after the story, and here he is right now with Emerson Fittipaldi.
Emerson, this seems a very unfair situation. What's your version of this?
You know, Jackie, it's an international race. My English is not so good as the other drivers. And yesterday they told that even I arrived late. They told if I arrived late for the meeting, 11:30, drivers' meeting, I would be penalized and start on the back row of the grid. But I didn't understand that. They told there's not in the rule, and they told here in public in front of all the photographers, all the pictures, and now they want me to start on the back row of the grid. And this is an international race. It's not for Americans, you know. And I'm very, very disappointed with this attitude.
What are you going to do about it, Emerson?
I don't know, Jack. You know, I'm thinking not to start because, you know, you try so hard to put the car on pole position, and you put the car on pole position, I have to start on the back because they told the rule that they spoke in front of the photographers, everybody, when they were taking pictures here. And, you know, my English, sometimes I don't catch up everything, and I didn't understand that. I arrived 5 minutes late on the meeting today, and they said you start on the back row.
George Follmer has said exactly the same thing. He seems to be of the opinion that they're not saying exactly as they said yesterday.
Yeah, you know, I think this rule is ridiculous, Jack. You know, we are not schoolboys. We are top racing drivers, and this is an international race.
Emerson, the best of luck in whatever decision you make.
Thank you.
Back with more in just a moment. The controversy which caused him to be bumped from the pole to the back of the pack for being late to the drivers' meeting. And as the field moves, a comment from Jackie.
Very difficult situation here. I've never seen a racing driver get into his racing car in such an upset position as Emerson Fittipaldi has today. This is bad for him as a racing driver. He's got in emotionally not right for the start. Obviously, George Follmer's in the same condition. It means that they, in my opinion, are not going to drive as calculated and as cleanly as they should. I just hope that nothing's going to go wrong or they're going to get too excited in a bad corner, because this is bad for everybody concerned. I personally think the disciplinary action has been much too hard, because I've never seen this being applied in a motor race before in any country in the world. There have been fines before where a driver has been financially fined for it, but never put to the back row of the grid. I think it's a bad start under those circumstances, and I don't think the right ambience has been given to all the drivers.
All right, Jackie, and as the field moves around toward turn 9 and the start of our Race of Champions, let's set the grid for you. It's Mark Donohue on the pole. Peter Revson is outside. Donohue in a white car and Revson in the yellow car. In the second row, it's David Pearson and Denny Hulme. Bobby Unser and A.J. Foyt behind them, followed by Bobby Allison, Richard Petty, Gordon Johncock, Roger McCluskey, Emerson Fittipaldi, and George Follmer is in the number 12 position. Mark Donohue continues to lead our international race of champions with Peter Revson behind him, but suddenly Emerson Fittipaldi has again assumed a dramatic posture as he has fought his way through the tight S's and moved up now to challenge, believe it or not, for 7th position, and he's running right here alongside A.J. Foyt.
He's done a wonderful job of slipstreaming. He's come up the inside going into this last corner. He's got on the inside line. AJ's attempted to go back in the inside, but there's no room. Emerson's made the pass.
Gordon Johncock is now in the pits. Johncock, having a spin over on turn 7, has come into the pits. He will get a tire change. Apparently his automobile is all right. He will stay in the race, but he will get new tires because of the flat spot caused by the spin. In the meantime, Emerson Fittipaldi suddenly becomes a challenger as he closes in on Denny now, fighting for 6th position.
Two Grand Prix drivers really knowing their business, getting at it very, very hard. Emerson's obviously going to press Denny pretty hard. He's going into those corners well. The car's spinning. The rear wheels have locked. He's going off the road. He's gone up the back, very close to the crowd. He's back on. My goodness. Oh, a car can stand that. He must have damaged something. He's getting back onto the road, though. The car looks good. He's accelerating away. He may be all right.
So then it was not a mistake on Fittipaldi's part, Jackie, but rather a mechanical problem. Let's take another look at it.
Well, it looks as if to me the rear wheel's locked. You can see smoke coming off the back wheels, Keith, as it goes into that corner. You can see he's come up on Denny here. He's in a reasonable position from Denny, but not too close, not in a position to pass. He goes into this corner, just as you see him in that right-hand corner. Now, the smoke, the rear wheels tighten up. It goes into a bit of a tank slapper. It goes right up that bank, and there it goes, straight into the sand. The car's taken a big pounding in that, Keith. I can't imagine it's got off scot-free.
All right, we'll watch him. Meantime, back on the racetrack. As we pick up the action, Mark Donohue continues to lead. As the field comes whipping down over the start-finish line, Peter Revson is in second place. David Pearson is running in third spot. Emerson Fittipaldi is in the pits here, Jackie.
The race is over. As far as Emerson Fittipaldi is concerned, the fuel tank is burst. Fuel is coming out of the car. It's not been a happy situation. There's a high fire hazard down here because there's petrol all over the place.
So the day is done for Emerson Fittipaldi. He is going to receive only 1 point from this first race. But remember, if he chooses to continue, he will have the winning car for race number 2. Your leader right now, right there in white, Mark Donohue. Be right back to more. Emerson Fittipaldi of Brazil, who finished in 12th place, this week breaks from the pole. Emerson Fittipaldi ran into this piece of misfortune last week as he had started a steady charge up through the field. The brakes locked, sending his car caroming over this bank, and in the process ruptured his gasoline tank, and he was the first man to leave the first race. But this week he breaks from the pole. NASCAR's Bobby Allison, who finished 11th in the first race, will start outside front row today. And Bobby had his moments of misfortune as well. Here a piece of bad luck early in the race for him. As he lost it, spun through the sand, and from that point on he had a succession of problems until he had to finally leave the first race. Inside on the second row will be USAC's Gordon Johncock. He had a spin and flattened his tires. Cost him. He finished 10th. Starting alongside Gordon Johncock, outside on the second row will be NASCAR's David Pearson. Lost an oil seal, cost him a high finish in the first race. USAC's Roger McCluskey will start inside on the third row, moving up to the 5th position from an 8th place finish in the first race. Outside, third row, NASCAR's Richard Petty drove a steady race to finish 7th, so he gains a spot in the driver rotation this week. USAC's A.J. Foyt inside 4th row, growing more confident that he can handle the hot little Porsche Carrera. Alongside A.J., outside on the 4th row, Denny Hulme from Formula One Racing. He finished 5th in the first race. Inside on the 5th row will be SCCA's George Follmer. George bolted from 12th place to finish 4th, and in the driver rotation, he moves back. George Follmer might have done a little better had it not been for this moment. In full charge, slid off the racetrack, did not actually lose a position, but he did lose momentum. He starts inside 5th row this week. Outside, alongside of him, will be SCCA's Peter Revson. Revson finished 3rd last week, so he's well back this week. USAC's Bobby Unser, the 2nd place finisher, goes to the back of the pack inside, and he'll be thoroughly tested there. And starting dead last will be Mark Donohue, the man who won the first race.